pledge. There will be no machines on my watch. Just live people to talk to when you come into the tax office. I thank you, the taxpayers of Huntington, for all your support and confidence in me and liking me. You know, even if you don't like the job I do, I like the fact that you like me. And I thank you. I just spelled it wrong. I'll give me a pen. It's all right. Everybody knows. I know. It's all right.
I know, I guess he doesn't write the check, Esther.
Hey, what are you going to do?
It took a long time, we got to figure out you write the check. Good evening, everyone. I'm Councilwoman Susan Berland. It's a pleasure to be here. Sorry, a couple minutes late. I was at the Northport American Legion for an event that they were having, so you know, so it was their annual cocktail party. So you know, they invited me and gave me a really nice plaque. So that was a lovely thing. I have been your council person for 14 years. I was elected in 2001. When Steve Israel was elected to Congress, I was elected to fill his seat. And I am the town's only full-time council person. I said back in 2001 that when I got elected, if I got elected, I would stop practicing law and I would do the job full-time. And I've kept that promise and will continue to keep that promise if I'm lucky enough to get re-elected on November 3rd. I'm very proud of a lot of the legislation that I put forward. I wrote the blight legislation. I wrote the legislation that requires accessory apartments to be owner-occupied. I supported Councilwoman Edwards in the rental registration law and in the new law we just passed, which requires a hearing if you want to convert a single-family home to a two-family home. You have to now go to the zoning board and have a hearing first. Very proud of upgrading all the lights on Depot Road, Gateway Gardens that we have, Coral Park, athletic fields that are there, and the basketball was something I worked very hard on. And I love the job I'm doing. I want to continue to do it. I think that we together make a big difference. I appreciate everything the NAACP has done in this town. I am a card-carrying member, so you know, I thank you for hosting this tonight and for having all of us here. I look forward to your questions, and let's get going. I feel the last
Here's the first question that we had from the audience. This is for, if you're on the board, speak as though if you were on the board, if you would get elected, you want to know what you would do if you get elected. Okay. What steps will you take to partner with the Suffolk County Police Department to enhance safety in our community and to continue to prevent and deter crime? Jennifer?
So we start with you.
Yes.
So clearly this is a significant issue for the community of Huntington Station and on really all of Huntington. We need to make sure that our streets are safe. Sorry. I think that every community member deserves to be able to go outside, walk down their street, feel secure and safe, to be able to walk to the corner market and back and not have to worry about what they might encounter on the roads with their children or with their spouse or whomever, their friends that they want to walk with. And so I think it's important that our community is safe, and I think that every corner of our community should have the same level of safety as their neighboring streets, that there shouldn't be pockets in which it's not safe and then areas where it is safe. So I think that all of the residents of Huntington should have equity in that. Some of the ideas that I'd like to bring, one of the things I think specifically, I think that the board can do, I've heard people say that, well, the board isn't really involved in policing per se. We have a public safety department, certainly, but you know, I think that when we as a board make a clear message to our community, to our county legislation, that it is important that the safety of our community residents is looked at, that we will back our police department. We can reach out to our county executive and ask him to deploy special services. A lot of people have talked about more patrolling, and I'm not opposed to more patrolling. In fact, I've heard our inspector say that recently there has been a new hire, a new batch of employees to do patrols. But I also think that we really need to look at what the specific problems are and find ways to target those specific issues, like special forces with regard to drugs, special forces with regard to gang-related incidents. I think that if we look at those targeted things, we'll find solutions that will help those targeted things, because those are really some of the roots of what we need to develop in our safety in our area. Do I just keep going, or? Oh, okay.
You have 30 seconds.
Okay. So 3 seconds. Well, I'll take my 3 seconds and say it'll be a priority for me. That is one of the things that I know is important to the community and something that I want to look at.
Thank you.
Let me tell you about a very, very bad time for me when I was on town council. And that was when Maggie Rosales was killed. It affected me because I have 4 daughters. I have a daughter now that's 17, will be coming up to 18, Maggie's age, in the beginning of next year. It affected me so much that I came down to the community. I spoke to some of the residents where it was the murder had happened, and I went right into Frank Patrone's office and I laid out a plan. I still believe that plan should be put forth, and I'm willing to work on it and get it done. And that plan was to use our public safety, okay, and put 2 public safety agents out walking the beat every day. The storefronts, saying hello, having a phone and a 2-way radio. Phone for any connections that they needed from store owners, say, hey, we may have a problem over here. The 2-way radio to the 2nd precinct to give them the ears and eyes on the street. At night, I told Frank that I wanted to set up a map and go through each road in Huntington Station, okay? With the yellow lights, we have GPS in all these cars, so we know exactly where they are. Travel at about 10 miles an hour and be the eyes and ears for the police on the streets. I believe that will cut crime by 60 to 80%. And I believe it will make Huntington Station a much safer place. It'll cost some money, but you know what? Every life is worth it, and we need to go out and have our roads safe. I am willing to do that. I will work hard for that, and that is a priority as far as I'm concerned for my next election.
As a legislator, that the police are part of Suffolk County, I believe that we have to have a comprehensive approach, and I've partnered with our inspector, and I also really want to commemorate the memory of Maggie, and it's been a year, and I see a lot of people in this community that were devastated by her loss, and we'll never forget her. One of the things that I've done as a legislator is to call the inspector almost every day at times to find out what is going on. And I want to assist our police by putting more police officers on the street. This year, we voted to have 100 more police officers in this upcoming class, more than we've seen in 8 years. I've provided funding for the community and schools together, again, changing the culture so that gangs will not be able to kind of entice our young people. I wrote to the Attorney General and did a gun buyback in Huntington Station, and there are those that would criticize and say, well, you know, what good is that going to do? But we took 106 guns off of the street, and those guns will never harm anyone again. We brought first in the nation the Applied DNA program, which Huntington Station will get for free, where residents, if you steal something in Huntington Station, you better watch out, because we're going to know where it came from, we're going to return it to their owner, and we're going to track it down. So I believe that we have to be very tough. I appreciate County Executive Malone, who listens, who came in, has been working together. Can we do better? Yes. Am I committed to making a difference? Yes. One of the proudest things one of the things I'm proudest of is bringing the ministers together. They met in my office, and they have agreed to be available to reach
Dr.
out.
Spencer, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
but we have to
absolutely.
stick with
Thank
it.
you. All right. Time's up.
Working with our police department is just so very important for all of our communities to be able to function. Communication is something that's incredibly important. When we lost Maggie, and there's still, the 3 other murders of young people in Huntington Station that are unsolved, we had numerous meetings with the 2nd Precinct, and we, impressed upon them that they need to better their communication with the residents as well. So we're working together with them on certain housing issues. If there are houses that have criminal complaints, we are working together. That's where our public safety comes in to work with the police department. Because public safety doesn't carry guns. They can't walk a beat. It's not appropriate for them to walk a beat. They do inspections. They participate with the 2nd Precinct when there's a specific house. And they are behind the police. They're not the first ones going in there because they're not police officers. They're public safety officers. So there is a difference to that. We've worked with the BID, with Keith Barrett here, and put cameras up. Very important, and we want to get more cameras because that's, I believe, how Maggie's alleged killer was caught, was through the cameras that are there. I believe we need more police, and I thank Doc Spencer for working on that. I think if we have more police on patrol, on foot, that it's a first-hand connection with the community. And last night here, when I was here at the 2nd Precinct meeting, the new inspector said he's considering the ride and walk program, where you ride in the police car for an hour and then you walk for an hour. Which, I had never heard, the other inspector mention something like that. I think that's an incredible program, and I think it would be a good complement to the bicycle police that we have. Because when the officers, the co-officers are on bikes, they can cover a lot more ground. They can, get to places quicker. And I think this walk and ride program, I think, would be, incredibly important and effective.
I have a very good working relationship with the police department. I fix half of their cars. The BID has built a state-of-the-art camera system in Huntington Station. There's over 46 security cameras that you may not know about or you might know about. They go up and down New York Avenue. They have been used to push away crime. They have been used to, in cases of crime, the police officers have access to it. They have access to it out in Yaphank. When I'm elected, I would like to say that I will work with the police. I believe the police in Huntington Station is very important. And I know we can't just, get a bunch of more officers that we do need. But I do believe in what's called weighted patrols. So what they do is they take the areas that are the most troublesome and they double up sector cars there and take them away from the areas that aren't as troublesome. So we have more weighted patrols inside that. I also believe in walking a beat, but I also believe in keeping the same officers on that beat so they do know the area and they are familiar with what's going on. Also, I believe in that in sector cars. And I talked to Inspector Brady about it. He's not here anymore, so now I'll have to bring that to Inspector Hatton. But to keep the same officers in the same area would be a plus because it'll make them familiar with what's going on. A few years back, I fought, and I'm just a president of the BID. I'm not a town official or anything, but I did fight when they wanted to cut down the midnight shift. See, they thought that they could do away with the midnight shift, and I did voice my opinion on it for the BID. Lighting was another big area that will help the police. When we first started the BID, Mrs. Thompson knows that my wife and I rode around and we found 90 street lights out on New York Avenue, and we had them repaired. That was the first thing. If the police can't see anything, they can't do anything. Thank you.
question is for Mr. Barrett. I've heard you in reference to the Huntington Station bid. Can you explain what this is and what your role is in it?
What my role is?
Yes. Can you explain what the Huntington Station bid is and what is your role in it?
Okay, the Huntington Station bid is the Business Improvement District. It's made up of 7 property owners, 3 renters, and 3 municipal appointees. I happen to be the president. I'm the first president and the only president. I guess only because I'm the only one who wants to do it. And Mrs. Thompson has been the only vice president. So what we do is we try to interact with the business community to try and bring better business practices to the station area. Our bid area is New York Avenue, Jericho Turnpike to the Big H. We take in West Hills Road and Depot Road. We do the flower baskets that you see and everybody seems to like. We have over 350 flower baskets that we pay for and the General Services put up. I have something to do with that too. And General Services also waters them. Garbage cans. The first thing we did was buy garbage cans so that we keep the garbage in the cans, not on the street. The Unity Parade that Mrs. Thompson is very proud of, as myself and her and Frank are the co-sponsors of that, co-chairs of that. We just trying to make the business area a lot better and keep bringing it along in Huntington Station.
Okay. This next question is for the board member at the time. This is for members that are currently on the board and if you get elected. How will you work with the existing board members to break the walls of politics? We can start with Mr. Barrett because we started with Ms. Thompson first, so we can start with Mr. Barrett.
I believe I can work with anyone. I have a business mind. I think about business. I see the things that we need. I've tried to bring some things along so far. I like to think I have fresh ideas. One of my ideas was parking. We've opened the parking and tried to park at Town Hall. One of my ideas was to pave over Boxer Court, where my office is, and take the cars away from Town Hall. There's over 50 cars there, and do the switch over from engineering and public safety at Boxer Court. So I believe with any one of these, anybody here, that I can get along and work with anyone on any idea. That's pretty much what I can say.
Personally, for me, I don't see my colleagues on the town board as Democrat or not Democrat. I deal with everybody as an individual. And as long as people are, fair and open-minded, honest, and keep their word with me, I'm fair, open-minded, and honest, and keep my word with them. And I think it's important that we all try to work together because we're here to serve the public. We're here, because you have elected us to serve you and to help the community. And we need to work together to make things better in the town. So, I believe I've done that in my tenure on the town board, and if lucky to be re-elected, I will continue to do that. Thank you.
So I'm in the legislature, but it's a little bit bigger, being 18 people, and we're in a majority. Since I've been there, I will work with anyone that has a good idea. And even though we hold a majority, some of the best policy, I believe, come through bipartisan support, working together to listen to every side of a particular argument. And all of my legislations have been passed with bipartisan support. I don't believe good ideas come from Democrats or Republicans, but they come from people.
Well, my life's a little different. As the only non-Democrat on the town board, I've had a difficult time. It's not easy. So when you're there and you have a resolution that you'd like to put up, you need a second so it can come out to a public discussion. I don't have that there. That's why I'm hoping that you'll ask Jennifer Thompson to be your next council person. The fact of the matter is I have tried to work with people. I work with Frank Petrone quite a bit. Certainly Doc Spencer and I have done a number of things together, and we work very nicely together. Wouldn't you say, Doc? Absolutely. So what happens is that the fact of the matter that it is kind of tough up there, okay? Because I'm considered an outsider, and if you've seen anything that I've done, I'm not well liked, okay? So what I try to do is do the right thing for you, the people. And that's why I got out and said what I did about term limits and then not being nasty to anybody. And that's what I want to do for the future. We need to talk, regardless of what the issues are, have a discussion, find out what is needed, and get the job done. And that's what I'm hoping to do. Thank you.
So working collaboratively, I think, is one of my strengths, actually. One of the positions that I had when I was in administration was actually to work with families who were really struggling with trying to come to resolution with the district about how to service their children. And one of my main roles in that was finding common ground, finding places where we could agree to things and walk away from maybe the corners and try and find solutions together and move forward on behalf of students, and that was very important. In my role as a school board trustee, I think I've also been successful with that. I'm part of a 9-member board, so the town board is 5, so we double that and add another person. And trying to get all 9 of us to move in the same direction is like herding cats. But quite honestly, you know, even with the fact that between the 9 of us, there are distinct personalities, distinct differences. You know, we are able to move forward. Some of the things that we have been able to do in our schools, we've been able to, since I've been on the school board, we've been able to pass 5 budgets, propose and pass 5 budgets. Every single budget I've ever been part of has been supported by our community. That's no easy task, because when you get 9 people in a room to agree on money, certainly it can be tumultuous. But I'm proud of that. I'm also proud of the fact that our community, for the first time ever in its history, has full-day kindergarten. And we had to work very hard, collaboratively, to set aside differences, to set aside agendas, and really look at what was best for our community and our students, our kindergarten students. So I think that for me, I enjoy the opportunity to look at different sides. But as Gene said, you know, the fact that he can't get a second, I think is disappointing, because I think in a strong democracy, we are able to bring forth ideas and talk about them and not shut anybody out.
Thank you. The next question we have is geared towards the 2 current town council members. Some of our finest recreation facilities are in the furthest southern reaches of our township. Why doesn't Huntington Station enjoy multiple skating rinks, community pools, and top-notch recreation facilities like those in Dix Hills? That's for the current board members?
Want me to start?
Yes, you can.
Well, I'm proud to say that when I first got on the board, along with Mark Mayoka and Susan Berlin, we got Coral Park in and brought that you know, to a completion, which was great. We worked together, we got things done, and the park got installed very quickly. And it takes some nice legwork to get that done, and I was very proud of that. And so was Mark Mayoka at that point. We're now working on the Conti building with the YMCA for a park, a playground, an area for our children to come to. And there's a bunch of discussions here, and you know, discussions about it, and I think it can happen. It's going to take a little bit longer because the Conti building is in such bad shape. It's got lead, it's got some real problems with it that has to be taken care of. But I think that's a possibility in a short distance to get it done. And I'd like the community to work, and there are some community members here that have worked very hard to get it set. And along with that, I'd like to have a place for the American Legion Hall out of Greenlawn. And I think if they're move over into that area, you have some senior people that can help the young people, and really have a nice facility there for for everybody in Huntington Station. I think that'll be our crowning achievement. Thank you.
The ice rink is located in Dix Hills. It was built before I ever moved into the town of Huntington. It was an outdoor rink originally. It was then made into with an enclosure. And what we did was we added a second slab of ice because all the ice time was sold out. And there were a lot of teams and a lot of kids that wanted to play, a lot of rec time, and there was no time available for them to play. It is economically not feasible to build an entire second building in another location in the town to house a second slab of ice. It makes the most sense so you don't have a second building, you don't have a second set of employees, you don't have a second place to oversee. You put a second slab of ice contiguous with the first. That's where it's built. That's where the town pool was built 50 years ago. That's where it is. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't have things in Huntington Station. I supported Manor Field and the turf fields. Those were the first turf fields in the town. Those are great turf fields. I was the one who worked on Coral Park, and when Councilman Cook got elected, I put the olive branch out to him and asked him if he wanted to work with me to make that happen. And we did work together, and it's a great park. And we're having a basketball tournament there this weekend, our second annual. And I have sponsored for the last number of years free bus rides for kids from Huntington Station to go swimming in the pool with Kevin Thornborn. So anybody who felt that they didn't have access to any of those facilities during the summer could take a bus ride for free and go over and go swimming. We can't relocate the facilities to a place where they don't exist. I have been working with Gateway Gardens and where the vegetable gardens are, and I want to try to get a small water park right in there. Because a lot of the kids, when they're there, when their parents and relatives are doing gardening, it's really hot over the summertime, and I've been working to try to set a part of that aside to have a water park there. Thank you.
Mr. Lally, would you like to do a brief opening statement?
Sure.
Please, 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Great, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and I apologize for being late. I'm actually going to be, about another meeting, I'm being inducted into the Elks tonight, so they told me I better get back fast. But it's great to be here, and I want to thank you for doing this forum. This is a great country. It is a great country because it offers opportunity to everyone. It wasn't always that way, but it is that way now, and it is why I believe in the greatness of this country. It is, and I believe that in the future of this country. My wife is a woman of color. Her family comes from the Caribbean. She's an immigrant to this country. She rose to be one of the highest officials in Washington, D.C. And she did it through hard work, perseverance, and not allowing obstacles to stand in her way. Our baby, our child, he is whatever he wants to be, and he will be whatever he wants to be. I firmly and completely believe in the dream of Martin Luther King, that we as a people, and I believe that we as a country, need to judge everyone, not by the color of their skin, but by the content of our character. It is a credo and a motto that is making this country the greatest country in the world. And there's no other place in the world, doesn't matter where else you go, any other country, that lives by that credo and is as open as we are. We need to build here in Huntington. We need to build opportunity, and we need to build upon our economy. I think our taxes are too high. We need to cut them, and that is something that we as a community can do. I don't know how much time I have. 2 minutes?
Here's the bullet. I got 2 minutes.
All right. Am I getting the?
Yep. You're under 26.
Anyway, listen. It's wonderful to be here tonight. I want to thank you for having this forum, and pleasure to see all of you tonight. Thank you.
Next question is geared to our 2 candidates that are running for town council. If you were elected, what would your main focus be? What will you address first? What tasks will you take first?
I can start? Yeah. The task that I'd look at first, quite honestly, is ethics and transparency. I think that we need to clean house. So we have a town ethics board right now that meets, well, they're supposed to meet 4 times a year. They have been meeting once a year. There's no place for a community resident to file a complaint. That's obvious anyway. There's no form in which you as residents can say, hey, there's a problem and I want somebody to address it. Not only is there not a place for that, there's no feedback whether or not how many complaints have been filed and how those complaints have been addressed. So we don't know whether there's been 1 complaint or 1,000 complaints in the last year. And quite honestly, before this year, when they were meeting once a year, I don't know how they could get anything accomplished anyway. I mean, if you filed a complaint in January and their meeting wasn't until September, what happened then? So I would like to see that whole department, our whole, for all of us, not necessarily to point fingers, but for us to raise the bar, to be a community that has integrity and serves its people with integrity and transparency. So that would probably be one of the first things that I'd look at. I think that once we look at that and have that intact and have a place for the community to communicate effectively with their town with regard to their concerns, then we can start making some real change in the way that things are being run.
Well, ethics is definitely an important subject, but I think our biggest subject is public safety and the protection of our children out there, the drug epidemic that we have, and how do we go about it and how do we stop it. Because I think if we can protect our children and give them something to do, a place to go with public safety, that's my whole biggest thing, is to protect. You know, I look at the 5 corners and I read about the problems that are over there all the time. On Facebook of all places, but I do read it. And it's a big problem. We need to clean up our town, clean up Huntington Station, which I've been trying to do for years. And public safety is going to be a big part of it. And it all goes hand in hand. We got the Conti Center, it's going to have a place for our kids to play. We can get the drug epidemic that we have taken care of. And this is my first goal will be public safety.
The next question is geared for all the members that are either on town board or looking to be elected. It's a 2-part question in regards to the term limits. Okay. We have members of the current board who have been on for 18 years or more, who are currently under investigation for conflict of interest, as well as padding their expense accounts. Would you support a resolution? Would you support a resolution to term limits? Why or why not? We start with you.
I would absolutely support legislation for term limits. I think that there's kind of 3 reasons that I would do it. First and foremost would be that I think that we need to put our public officials, as well as make certain, certainly put our public officials in a place that they're not as susceptible to corruption. And we know that the longer somebody stays somewhere, you know, the more susceptible they are to the possibility of it. So I think that we actually protect them by putting them in a position to know that they're only going to be there for 2 terms. And I think that not only does that protect them, then that protects us as community members, because we know that their intentions are pure, that they're not, you know, involved in anything that really they shouldn't be involved in, or even if they're being tempted for it, you know, it's not something that can dwell and breed and take root and flourish. So I think that it protects both the public official as well as the community in the end. The second reason I'm for term limits is because I think that we need fresh ideas and fresh perspectives. I think that, you know, I liken it to kind of a house. You know, I've been in construction in my house several times in my lifetime, and you know how you get 90% of the way done, and the crown molding and maybe that one corner that needs to be painted, you know, you mean to get to it, but after time you don't see it anymore. And I think that when we come in with new talent, with new leadership, with new ideas, we see those places that haven't been looked at in a long time. That new owner can walk in and say, I see they didn't finish the crown molding, I'd like to do that. So that's another reason why I think that term limits are important. I think that it helps to bring revitalization to issues that maybe people had looked at in years past and thought, I don't know what to do about that, or we tried to do something and it didn't work out, we could try again. And so bringing fresh energy to try again. And that's it.
Thank you.
As I said from the beginning, that I'm going to term limit myself out. I'm never going to run after this term for town council. And the reason that's so important is that people forget about us, okay? We the people. Each and every one of you people are capable of being on this town board and running the business of the people, okay? Doesn't make you any different than us, okay? And what happens, what I've seen, is that people on the town board seem to think that they may be a little bit better than us. I'm here to tell you that's not the case, okay? So, I will never run for town council after this again. In the meantime, if I get elected, I'm going to do everything I can to put term limits in, okay? For policymakers only. Thank you.
Let me just add in this. We're both, Dr. Spencer and I are running for county legislature against each other. But we already have term limits. The county legislature is already term limited. I might say it should be 2 terms, but I do think term limits are important. But it's important. I think it is important. I think it's a good government principle. Thanks.
I agree. It's 12 years. The one thing I would add is that I think that you deserve to have your legislators work for you more than campaign for you. And a town board is 4 years. I think having the legislature run every 2 years is not fair. I think you should get us working for 3 years and not constantly campaigning. And it's tough to do both. And I think it should be separate. So I would advocate for 4-year terms, but limited after 12.
Well, I'm not in favor of term limits. I believe that, I do not believe in term limits. I think that elections are the best term limits we have, and that if you don't like the job that the elected official is doing, then don't vote them in to do the job again. I have to take some offense to the idea that just because you're in a job that you're susceptible to corruption. I'm the same person I was when I was elected. I'm a mother of 4. I'm an attorney. And, I am not susceptible to corruption. I am not corrupt. I have never taken anything from anybody, given anything to anybody. And, I don't think because I, serve the town and work 7 days a week, 24/7 and do the job that I do, that somehow makes me susceptible to corruption. It's very easy when you're not the incumbent to say that you want term limits. When Councilman Cook ran the first time, he said, I'm only running for 1 term. That is true. He said, I'm running because I had problems. I got served with summonses for work on my house, which I shouldn't have gotten served for, so I'm running for town board. I'm going to serve 1 term. Well, then he decided to, he lost the first time, then he decided to run again. Then he ran for supervisor, and notice he's saying, I'm not going to run for town council anymore. I don't know if what else he's planning on running for, but the term seems to change and the limitation seems to change to suit him. I believe that, if you want your elected official to continue in the job, vote for them, and and if you don't, you'll vote them out, and that's the best term limitation.
I believe that we should have term limits, 2 4-year terms, that's it. Town council is 5 people is the way I look at it. It's 4 board members and a supervisor. So my thing is this, if I win and I run, I will only go for 2 terms, and I'll never be the supervisor. That's what I believe in. So 8 years on the board, supervisor or not, that's where I'm thinking of it. And I'm going to say it here right now. I'm 11 years the president of the BID. We don't have term limits. But I'm going to say it here right now. This is the last year I'm going to be the president of the bid because I believe that somebody else should take it over. I've been doing it for 11 years, mostly because nobody else wants to do it, but they're going to have to find somebody else to do it this year because I will be a board member on that bid, but I will not be the president of it. That's my term limit.
Okay, in case you came in late or you didn't hear the announcement, we have to maintain respect at all times, so no heckling back and forth, that will not be accepted. If you continue to do that, you will be asked to leave. We're all passionate about politics, or we wouldn't be here, but this is not the place to go back and forth. It's an opportunity for them to answer the questions that you write out, that's it. So please keep that in mind. The next question we have is for Susan Berlin and Eugene Cook. Since it is your job to serve the public, how do you think we should serve the underprivileged and the poor residents in our community? Susan, you can start first.
Well, I think we have a responsibility to provide affordable housing for our underprivileged people and those who can't afford to live here. I think we have to have senior housing also affordable so that our seniors can stay here. Work very closely with REACH CYA and the various programs that we have through the town, and we partner a lot with the county, and we have those programs that continue, every year. I sponsor a youth council, which reaches out to all the high schools in the town and engages young people to participate in local government and teaches them about town government and how they can make a difference. We have to engage our kids and provide them with services that give them an opportunity to flourish, and not every child is able to do that. I worked with Tracy. She put together a tremendous program at the school in Huntington Station and Lowndes Avenue School, with all of these free programs for all these kids, from dance classes and music, and I was there to support her from the start. I think it's a cooperation that we have to do. We all have to work together as a community, provide resources to people that don't have the resources to do it. And it's each of our responsibility to take care of people less fortunate than us. And I have done that and will continue to do that. Thank you.
Knowledge. I got together with Reverend artists and a number of reverends in Huntington Station and had seminars about how to manage your money, how to save money, how to have to purchase houses, how to, if they were in trouble, how to get their credit together. I've done that twice, and I believe we have another one coming up soon. I know you guys want another one. But those are things that we need to do. It's all about knowledge. The more you know, the more you're worth, the more you can do. And with that knowledge, you can open the door to anything you want. And that's awesome. Thank you.
I'd like to make a quick announcement. We have Councilwoman Tracy Edwards. And Assemblyman Chad Lubinachi. Thank you for joining us. And we have Jacqueline Harris from South Huntington District. These are for all the candidates. How would each candidate integrate civic groups into policy-making decisions in the town or county?
So as Councilman Cook just talked about knowledge, I think another key issue is relationships. I think we need to make sure that our elected officials are building relationships with each of the different groups, each of the different entities within the community. Because through those relationships, we will have better understanding of the needs of the individuals in the different communities that make up Huntington Township. And the reality is, in Huntington, there are diverse needs. What one community needs, another community may not need. So building those relationships, reaching out to those civic groups, those community groups, being part of those conversations, and not just us going, but inviting, having forums in which more community members can come and talk about their concerns, talk about their ideas and their dreams for their neighborhoods. We all have dreams for our neighborhoods, things that we'd like to see. Where are those forums where we can really bring those ideas and make sure that your elected officials are implementing them, like great parks. I've heard a lot about parks, but honestly, public safety is a big issue, and making sure that we are finding ways, innovative ideas, to meet those needs. And the people within the community are the ones that are going to have the best idea of how to meet those needs. And so one of the things I would do is just engage the community, find out, anytime that somebody says, what are you going to do about something, I give maybe a couple of ideas, but I always ask, what do you think needs to be done? Because typically when somebody's asking you questions, because they've got an idea too. And I think that when we listen to one another and communicate to one another what those ideas are, what those hopes are, then we'll be able to build really strong plans to solve those problems within communities.
I work with a lot of civic groups, and I think the best way is that on the town board, we have committees, and I think we should reach out to those civic organizations and have someone from that civic organization be appointed to those committees so they can oversee things, okay? Including, ethics and zoning and, all the things that people are having issues with. And this way, the community and the civic groups know what's going on. They have a person on the inside that can come back and say, this is what's going on. How do you feel about that? What can we do about that? How should we voice our opinion? How should we let the politicians know what's going on? And that's what I think would be the best way to keep the good relationships with the civic communities. Thank you.
I believe that we are your representatives. You are our boss, and I believe the civic leaders, they speak a lot of times for the community, and I believe in stakeholders. I believe in buy-ins. When we passed the Veterans Sunlight Laws, it was great to have experts like Darrell St. George that was able, an American hero, who was able to work with me. Applied DNA, it was great to partner with the NAACP and Huntington Matters and the Hispanic Latin Quarter to be able to kind of give us guidance. Because if you are going to do something that impacts people, then those people should be part of the process. I will not introduce legislation, I will not pass legislation unless I know how my constituents feel, unless I know how my civic leaders feel. I've done that, I've gotten results, and I've passed legislation that's been successful because it's been crafted by you. So, and I will continue to do that.
I think it's incredibly important to work with our civic associations. Before I was elected to the town board, I was vice president of the House Beautiful Civic Association. And I think I brought to the town board the procedure of anytime there's any kind of question or application or anything, you really have to get the community that's going to be impacted the most involved in the start. And I find that working with people that want to build in the town, if you start at square one and get the people who are most affected by that project involved, then it really makes a big difference. You also need to attend the meetings of various civic associations. I go to the meetings all the time. They have events, I participate in their events. I'm called, on specific issues. I dealt with the Greenlawn Civic Association about one of the vape shops that just moved in, and we're working on some legislation, to see what we can do about, not having them located close to a school. When you attend the meetings and you learn everything about that particular group and what their interests are and how you can make a difference with them, if you're going to be on a zoning board or a planning board or on the ethics board, you really cannot respond to communities because you have an ethical obligation not to do that. So I think that I have a little different opinion with my colleague there, because if you're on those boards, you're not a conduit to the community. You're a member of a board. So that's a difference with that. But I've worked with Tracy. We've reenacted the civic meetings where we got all of the civic groups from all over the town to come in and meet together. We used to do it way back when, and then a lot of the leaders of the groups changed and felt by the wayside. But now, we're trying to bring that back together because different communities have different needs. And if we all sit together, there might be one community that opposes something that another community wants to do because they don't necessarily understand why that community wants it or the ramifications if they get it or don't get it. But putting everybody together, I think, brings everybody together in the end. Thank you.
Civic group participation is extremely important. The civic groups are the eyes and ears of the town, and we should all be working with the civic group. As the president of a civic type of group, I believe this is where we have to be. It's like the park stewardships, and I know it's not really a civic group, but they, as in charge of park maintenance, I deal a lot with the park stewards. And two of the park stewards said we actually got the trees planted at Depot Park for Maggie. We made that little thing, and that was part of the idea of Jim McGoldrick and Kathleen Cuffs. And they brought that to me, and we made that happen. So that was just, it's kind of like a civic group, but the civic groups are extremely important. I like to see them at the table. If there's a big development going on or something that's going to happen, I believe the people in the community should have a seat at the table.
The next question that we have, what is your solution to the lack of affordable housing in Huntington? Mr. Barrett, we can start with you first, please.
I'm sorry.
What is your solution to the lack of affordable housing in Huntington?
Well, affordable housing is, we need a place for everybody to live. What the solution is, I think we're going to have to build some more places to put people. We can't have people living in everybody's basement. We need apartments and housing that's affordable for people to live in, that they can afford to. That sounds like a lot, but the solution for it is, I really don't have that solution, to be honest with you, off the top of my head.
If there was a solution.
I find it.
Right, the question, I don't know, solution versus what do you do to make it better, and what do you do to offer more. You have to build more affordable housing in the town. You have to find more affordable housing opportunities. We're just building 2 developments of 55 and over. The one affordable one in Melville, and then we have Ruin Road that's going to be families, and 1 bedroom that's limited equity co-ops. That was in litigation for forever. It was supposed to be studio and 1 bedroom ownership units, all affordable ownership units. They're no longer ownership units, but they're limited equity ownership co-ops. So, we are going to have all of those coming online. And what we have to understand is that communities have to embrace affordable housing coming into their neighborhood. Everybody wants affordable housing, but sometimes people don't want it by them. And there's a difference between affordable housing that, our kids who are, school teachers, police officers, firemen and women, that, they're going to live in, and, federal subsidized housing, which people have a problem with, but we have that in Millennium Hills. And, and it's fine, and that's an opportunity for them as well. So we have to keep working together. We have to not be afraid of what we think it's going to be, but we have to be willing to take that leap of faith and build it and realize after it's built that it's going to bring an economic benefit to our town. It's going to provide places for people to live that don't have places to live, and it's going to be better for all of us in the end. So, thank you.
The solution to the affordable housing issues is, one, to have a community plan. And we want to make sure that it's fair, it's equitable. We need more housing for our vets and seniors. We need more housing for our families. We need more housing so our young people have the ability to come back here and live. So we have to be respectful of our environment. We have to make sure that we are doing it in such a way that we protect our environment. I was a former housing authority chairman, and I've built affordable housing. We need to leverage federal dollars, and the way that we do that is by allowing developers, if they're going to build affordable housing at market rate, and they're going to get rich out of their communities, then they have to have an affordable housing component on site. And I think that we can do it in such a way that if we do the planning where we have the community that's able to buy in, and we do it in a way that's fair and equitable, then we can continue to build affordable housing. We pay out more here in Suffolk County for our expenses than most places, and we need to bring those dollars back in here from the state and federal government. I've done it, I will continue to do it. We need affordable housing. If we have safe places to live, then our children will feel protected. They will grow up. Judge Sonia Sotomayor was a product of affordable housing. And she said that was the single most important thing, that when she came home at night, she had a safe place to be able to study, had a roof over her head, and it led to greatness. So if there's anyone that is an advocate of affordable housing, I think that my record proves that. Thank you.
Good evening. I apologize for arriving late. Just that time of year, and it's a busy schedule, so please accept my apologies for that. The question was about workforce housing, I believe, or affordable housing.
You probably should announce who you are so that
Okay.
everyone knows who you are,
Yes.
and then you can
Okay.
answer that question.
As it says on the card, I am Suffolk County Legislator Lou Tomorrow, and I've been lucky enough and honored to be your legislator in the 17th Legislative District for the last 10 years, and I'm seeking re-election. This will be my last re-election for this particular office because we have term limits in Suffolk County. Sorry to go, but life goes on. Anyway, let me address that question very briefly, if I may. Workforce housing is a vital component to bringing back the economic engine that we need in Suffolk County in order to sustain, especially young people who want to remain here. If we don't provide the housing, that's a very important component for people to remain here, then we're just going to be a dead end, and we can't afford to do that. So we've done a couple of things on the county level to try and do our part. I know the towns are very involved in this, and Councilwoman Berlin has done a great job on this issue as well. But in the county, we've done a few things I just want to mention very briefly. The first is I sponsored legislation and passed a bill through the county legislature that created my own workforce housing program. And what I said was when the county acquires properties, usually through a tax default, we would usually take those properties and just make them available to the neighbors, the adjoining neighbor, for a small price. So what I did was I passed a bill that said instead of just giving those to the neighbors for a very small price, let's take that property, put it back on the auction block, and make it available to builders. But the deal would be that if the builder is going to bid on that property at the right price, then they would have to agree to make it an affordable housing unit. So that it didn't create a lot of workforce housing, but it was a step, I believe, in the right direction to try and bring some of our communities some workforce housing that it desperately needs. Another large component of workforce housing, however, is sewers. You can't really build the type of housing that can be affordable unless we have sewers, especially in residential neighborhoods. I passed a landmark bill here in Suffolk County a few years ago that the county executive has expanded upon that is going to start to bring sewers to residential neighborhoods so we can have the type of expansion that we need. And it's going to be vetted out. We're going to see if it's cost effective and if it makes sense to do it, but we are looking very closely at that. And it's also very important for rental.
Mr. Demar, we have a 2-minute time frame. So
Oh, I thought I had 3.
No, sorry. We have it there.
All right, just to conclude that very briefly, there's some other things we've done in the county for workforce housing, and I'll get into it when I get the mic again. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
It is extremely difficult, and both Don Spencer and Lou mentioned it. There are so many different components to get workforce housing going, and the Rulin Road was on for years before it's finally settled, and there should be some affordable housing going up. It takes a lot, and we need to get the community together so that we have the areas that we want to say, this is where we'd like to put affordable housing together. We need grant money from the federal government so that we can build that. And we have to have developers do it in a proper, safe way so that everybody's safe. It is not an easy task at all. Probably one of the harder tasks in town hall to get that done. But I believe the entire town board is on the same wavelength when it comes to that. We try hard, we work hard, and we look at things to get that done. And it is a priority, okay? But it is a difficult priority, to say the very least. Thank you.
So I think I've heard it said already that there needs to be a plan, and I certainly support that idea that we have to have planned development, that it's development that meets the needs of our community members and the people who need housing. But one of the things that I haven't heard anyone talk about is taxes. You know, one of the reasons that our housing is not affordable is because our taxes are not affordable. And we have people that have just walked away from homes. We have people, I mean, as I've been going door to door, I'm amazed at how many homes are just vacant. So there is housing, but it's people can't afford to keep it, and I don't believe it's because of the cost of the home. I think it's because of the cost of the maintenance and the taxes. And we do, as elected officials, have a say on taxing. And so I think, one, we need to bring taxes into alignment and under control so that our housing is affordable and we don't tax ourselves out of our own homes in our community such that we walk away one day, such that our beautiful homes that we purchased just go to nothing. Secondly, I also think there needs to be a plan for solid incomes so that we can afford the housing in our area. We need to have a plan in place for jobs, creation of jobs, so that our residents of our community have a place to make a good, earnest dollar, have their taxes low enough so they can keep as much of those dollars, and that will help our housing become more affordable because we'll have income, we'll have increased, I've lost the word, but increased jurisdiction over how we spend our money with reduced taxes, and then certainly having a plan in place that puts us in a position to make sure that our housing equals our needs.
At this time, we give the opportunity for the latecomers to come in just to introduce yourself and to state your position, please.
It's my turn now. I actually don't need a mic. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. Good evening. My name is Janet Heller-Spitalian. I'm running for the 17th Legislative District. And I'm very sorry to come a little late. However, as I explained, I wanted to get to as many things as I could tonight. So a lot of us are juggling between towns. And it's not that we feel one is more important than the other. We were just trying to get everything done as soon as we can and trying to get to everything that we need to get to. So I'm sorry if I inconvenienced it all or that I'm coming late and that I may say something that's repetitive. I'm sorry about that. Okay, I have 2 minutes. I got it. I have the timekeeper right here, right? Okay. The question on the table is that of affordable housing. And I myself, when I've gone to the different houses, I've heard a lot of complaints, especially from our young people, saying, hey, why do we have to live in basements? Why do we have to continue to live with our parents? Why can't we have affordable housing? We hear it also from seniors who say, it's time to give up my house, but where am I going to go? I can't afford a nice luxury gated community. I want something that's affordable. We have seen that there is some plans in the works. We have seen that some building projects are in the works. Are they enough? Are they diverse enough? Are we only seeing the higher rents? We have to look at things. All development is not smart development. And that's where it comes, that's where we have to start at a county level, and we have to look at all these things and only promote those smart developments. We also have to start thinking outside the box. Is a big unit what we want? Do we want all different types of units? Do we want units that specialize in things that younger people would want? Do we want houses or apartments that look a little different than what we see? We see this in other parts of the country, that there are communities that are for different types of people. Some develop more towards younger people, some are more senior communities. We have to start thinking like that. We have to start saying, getting out of our comfort zone and working together and trying to diversify. And if we do that, I think that we can come up with more solutions than just, let's keep building bigger. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Stephen Stern. And it's my privilege to serve as Suffolk County Legislator representing the 16th Legislative District. I'm running for re-election to what would be, due to term limits, a final term. But I've had the privilege of serving our community in the 16th District now for 5 terms. 6th term would be my last term. And I'm running to continue to build on a record I'm very proud of. A record of providing fiscal responsibility, holding the line on taxes, particularly during these very challenging times. Protecting our environment, preserving our precious groundwater supply for ourselves, of course, but more importantly for generations to come. And joining with my neighbors and helping to lead the fight on many of the issues that we're talking about right now, particularly workforce housing and development and smart growth that makes sense, that provides housing for our young people and for our older neighbors of the type that they want and they need, the type that's appropriate for a particular area, especially as we focus on the redevelopment of our downtowns as the driver of our economic growth here locally. And I'm looking to continue to build on a record of implementing very innovative programs that I'm very, very proud of, that I hope we have the opportunity to talk about this evening. And I ask for your continued support on November 3rd. Thank you. As far as the affordable housing, the workforce housing, Legislator Demaro had started to talk about some of the very specific things that we've been able to accomplish at the county level of government. And I would say that affordable housing, workforce housing, is really one of those issues that is really ripe and perfect for cooperation and strategic planning between the county and the town levels of government. The permitting and the land use doesn't happen without the towns, but the infrastructure that's necessary to serve that type of housing, it is really regional in nature. And I know that myself, Legislator Demaro, Legislator Spencer have been focused on developing the type of infrastructure that's necessary in appropriate areas. This type of housing, particularly the Huntington Station area, and I hope we have the opportunity to talk about that as well. Thank you.
Okay. In close, we would like to have each candidate give a 2-minute closing statement, please. And if we could start with you, Mr. Barrett, I'd greatly appreciate that. And come right down
first.
It's your turn again.
Okay.
She's in charge, come on now.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, well, in closing, again, I want to thank you all for coming and spending the time being out here tonight and listening to what we all have to say. I hope you choose wisely who your next representatives will be. I hope you liked what I had to say. I hope you liked what I had to do, what I have done. I have come also, in my work with the town and general services, I have tried to save taxpayer money. I've come up with different, fresh ideas, because I've heard a lot about the fresh ideas tonight. I've had a lot of fresh ideas. In the 1 year that I've been the deputy director, I have instituted an inspection program for vehicles that has saved the town over $50,000 per year, and not just for this year, that's for every year moving forward. So if anybody wants to know how I did that, I can tell you outside afterwards. We also did a plan on automotive body work. Instead of sending it out, I'm trying to do things in-house and save us money by doing it, by utilizing the staff that I have. I had a man that was a body man, an auto body man, that was changing oil. When I could have him doing automotive body repairs instead of sending them out and spending our money in that way. So these are just a couple of the things that I do, my fresh ideas, that I'm putting my fresh ideas to work. I also just recently had Boxer Court, which I was told was impossible to have paved. And if anybody's ever been up there, I don't know how many of you have, I know, was Joanne still there? Joanne's here, she's drove up there many times and I almost saw her fall into a hole. So we had that done through utilizing our highway department. Because when I was told we needed an outside contractor to pave this parking lot, why do we have a highway department? They pave, don't they pave the roads? Mr. Gunther paved the Boxer Court parking lot for me. So with that, I'm just going to ask for your vote again. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank everyone very much for coming tonight and participating in this process. You know, I respectfully ask for your support on November 3rd. I think you really need to research who you're going to vote for and who you're going to support. You know, who's done programs that you agree with, who has platforms that you agree with, you know, who has results that you agree with. You know, so, you know, feel free to go to my website, my Facebook page, and it lists all the initiatives that I've done over the last 14 years. I think the institutional knowledge that I have and the ability to make things happen and make things change and to help people is something that's important. And I don't think you throw away institutional knowledge just, you know, to have a change. I think, you know, I would love the opportunity to continue to work for the people of the town of Huntington. I will continue to do the job full-time. I will continue to be there for you 24/7, 7 days a week. And I sincerely hope you give me the opportunity to do that. Thank you very much.
Once again, thank you for allowing us this opportunity, and it's a privilege to be on this stage with all the great individuals and who are serving and are willing to serve. I believe that we have a community that is worth fighting for. I feel that we live in the greatest place on the planet, as I've said before, and I think that we have an obligation to get involved. I've been there, I've worked with everyone, I've gotten results, and I plan to continue to do that. I really ask that you would look at my record, and I would ask that you would vote for me on November 3rd. Tonight, you could have been home. I know tonight is a scandal, how to get away with murder night, but you're here. The Mets score is still tied 0-0. But nothing. He's got his, but you know, you are here. It's now 2-1. So see, I guess it, so. In any case, you are here because you are involved and you care about this community. I care about this community. Let's work together. Please come out and vote for me. Thank you.
All right, again, my apologies for arriving late, and I appreciate the opportunity to just briefly tell you that I too am asking for your support coming election day. It's just a couple of weeks away, and I think Councilwoman Berlin hits it right on the head. You really need to examine the record and examine what we have done for you in office. The county government is a $2.6 billion budget that we manage. We've gone through some very difficult economic times in the last several years since right after I first took office. And we've made tough decisions. You know, we haven't shied away from cutting back our workforce if that was what was required. We haven't shied away from consolidating departments of county government to make it more efficient and to save the taxpayers money. We've made our health centers now what we call federally qualified health centers to save taxpayers about $60 million a year. We've closed the Foley Nursing Home, which we're about to sell for another $15 million. We've also looked for sources of recurring revenue. The point of all of that is to protect you as a taxpayer. We heard some discussion here this evening about protecting taxpayers and the high cost of living on Long Island. That's true, but the county portion of your tax bill is in fact only about 11%. But nonetheless, we are fighting very hard to make sure that we've held the line on general fund property taxes for my entire tenure in the Suffolk County Legislature. We've done that by making tough choices. We've done that by protecting taxpayers. We've done that by making government more efficient. So we're doing the things and making the tough decisions that I think have to be made. A couple of other things I want to mention. I've also been very active as a top priority as your legislator with neighborhood safety. I think people have a right to be safe in their homes. So I've spent a lot of time working on our budget as chair of the Budget and Finance Committee and also as a member of our budget working group, making sure that community-based organizations get the funding that they need in order to provide alternative programs for our young people. You know, I don't want the lure of gangs or any kind of violent person to take over our young kids when they get out of school. I want them to have equal opportunity. I want them to have an opportunity to go to something after school made available to them so they have choices. And we're doing that. We're providing the funding along with Legislator Spencer and Legislator Stern.
Okay, we have a 2-minute, we have the time limit.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, thank you again for listening.
I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It was my pleasure to be here and answer questions for you. In the 4 years that I've been on the town board, I brought the state controller in to do some audit of the books. Brought the U.S. attorney in to look at corruption on the town board and the ethics board. Got graffiti taken care of in Huntington Station. Took down a building that the town owned that was going to cost us tens of thousands of dollars, and then ended up, we actually made $200 from doing it in-house. I'm proud of these things, but one of my most important things to do is to keep Huntington Station safe. And I laid out a plan for you tonight, and I really want to get that work done. And so I'm asking you for your vote come November 3rd. God bless you all. It was my pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out and for listening, and I hope I get the chance to have your vote and listen to you more to listen to you, and not have you listen to me, but to listen to you about what your dreams, what your desires are for our community, to implement your ideas and to help make change in the streets and the neighborhoods that you live in and that you care so much about. As I said at the beginning, I'm a daughter of immigrants. My parents moved here with $24. And so I certainly know that my parents had to find affordable housing. They had to find jobs that could support a family, and they had to find training to be able to find those jobs. And I thoroughly believe that when we put the needs of individuals in our community first, we can come together to find solutions for them. We can find ways to support their dreams, their hopes for their community. I'm not a politician. I'm just a mom. I'm a school board trustee, a volunteer. I have been for 5 years. I'm not looking to make this a career. I'm looking to come in, to serve you, and to leave. And hopefully leave it better than I found it. Hopefully be able to look at the road behind and say, this has been a good journey, but I'm ready to pass the baton to somebody new, somebody with their new ideas, their new hopes, their new dreams. I promise to be responsive to you when you come to me and you say, I'm concerned about this, or how about this idea? I will look into ways to find your ideas for your community, for our community, to make it a better place, to keep growing Huntington, to keep making it a magical place to live and raise a family and to grow old in together. I will fight hard for increased transparency, because I do believe that when ethics and transparency are brought into alignment, we will all have a better shake at how our taxes look and how spending looks. I want to work to bring spending under control in our community. And I think that's it. Thank you.
I would also like to thank the NAACP for having this forum tonight. It's always good to have an opportunity to come out and speak to our constituents. Again, I'd like to say thank you for the confidence that you've shown in me over the last 24 years and in what I've done for the members of this community. I mentioned last night that my tax collection this year will probably top over $1 billion. And the confidence that you show in me in allowing me to handle that money for you and protect that money for you and make sure that money goes where it's supposed to go makes me feel very, very happy. I've invested well over 33 and a half years in the tax office. I've tried very hard to make it open and accessible. And I think I've done a good job as far as that's concerned, and I ask you again for your support on November 3rd. Thank you.
Hello again, Janet Heller-Smitelli. I'm running for the 17th Legislative District. Now, you've heard about experience, but there's also something that every candidate needs to have in order to be an effective and good candidate, and that's passion and caring. I've lived in Huntington for 25 years. I care about this town. I've worked with the youth of this town all this time period. I've worked in my community. I've worked with my religious organization. I feel very strongly about Huntington. I was here last night with the police awareness program. I will be here. You will see me, and you will hear from me, and I will hear from you, and I will be visiting you, and I will be going to your events. I make this promise now, and I hope for your vote this November 3rd. Thank you.
My thanks to the NAACP again for hosting this event. One of the things I neglected to mention earlier is that I grew up in Brooklyn. Anyone from Brooklyn? Yay. And I spent my summers here. My cousins owned a gas station on the corner of Depot and Pulaski, and I used to pump gas. They taught me how to pump gas. That's why I didn't fall in that pothole. I moved to Huntington in 1958. I raised a son and a daughter. They attended the school. Some of you might know my son, Andrew. I'm very proud of my accomplishments, and one thing I want to mention to everyone here, since you seem to have various issues as well, is I have developed what's referred to as an informational sheet, and I am, as town clerk, I'm also secretary to the town board, which means that any communications, emails, faxes, letters that come addressed to the town board come to my office. I distribute them to the 5 members of the town board, the town attorney, any town department that the issue refers to, and it's the communication is also listed on the informational page for the next town board meeting. All of that is on the town's website. You can always look at the website and you could see the different issues that people have, and hopefully by distributing it, someone will respond to it as far as taking it into their hands and trying to help the resident. I'm also very proud of my award-winning archives. Anyone, and I know I've mentioned this to Betty Miller in the past, if she wants to set up a tour, I have actually the oldest document, the original Native American Indian deed for the first purchase from April 1653. So I'd be more than happy. Thank you very much. Thanks for your support.
First of all, yes, thank you for having me this evening, and thank all of you for being here. I'm very proud of my record. I'm very proud of the legislative initiatives that I've put forth and passed and implemented as your legislator, many of which have been the very first of their kind, either in New York State or even in the nation. But I'm most proud of our open and accessible and very responsive constituent service that myself and my outstanding staff, who's here this evening as well, have been able to provide and work with so many members of our community over these past few years. We heard words like experience, innovation, passion. It's been my privilege to serve as the chairman of the Veterans and Seniors Committee of the Suffolk County Legislature since I've held office. Many of us know that Suffolk County is home to the largest number of veterans in all of New York State. We're very proud of that. Unfortunately, too many veterans and their families continue to face too many challenges in our community, and that's why I authored and passed the Housing Our Homeless Heroes Act recently in the Suffolk County Legislature, which is Suffolk County's very aggressive effort to end veterans' homelessness in Suffolk County. It's an important program because it helps our veterans and their families. It's good for our communities because it is a way to attack the vacant, dilapidated zombie home problem that is present in too many communities across Suffolk County. It saves taxpayer dollars, and that's important. But most importantly, the Housing Our Homeless Heroes Act is the right thing to do. I bring it up because it is a combination of experience, but innovation and passion that I've brought to this position, having the privilege of representing so many of you these past few years as your legislator, and that's why I'm running for re-election. And I ask for your continued support one more time on November 5th. Thank you.
I'd like to take this time to thank all the candidates for coming and answering the community's questions. We greatly appreciate it, and we wish you the best of luck.